Welcome to Smart, Successful and Stressed Mums, the podcast for professional mums who are doing it all. I'm Jasmine, mum of two, qualified social worker and lover of personal and professional development. And I know firsthand what it's like to juggle career, parenting and everything in between. Here, we dive into real conversations about motherhood, career, health, well-being, and the daily balancing act that comes with it. You'll hear from experts in the field, as well as everyday professional mums sharing their stories, struggles, and wins. So grab your favorite hot drink or reheat the one you forgot about, and let's get into it. Welcome to episode 10 of the Smart, Successful and Stressed Mums podcast. It's amazing to have launched this podcast, and I'm already hearing from a few other mums out there that they've really enjoyed the topics. And if you have any ideas for future topics, I would absolutely love to hear from you. So definitely reach out to me and we can connect. Busy working mums, one of the things that we talk about almost constantly is time, particularly a lack of time, in which there's not enough time to prepare dinner fresh every night. There isn't enough time for our self-care routines. There isn't enough time in the work days to get everything done before then needing to turn off our computer and then leave and go pick up our children. So just this notion of not enough time, and that time is running out and that time is our enemy and not our friend, is something that I've experienced myself, but also the professional mums that I work with in my business. That's what they're telling me as well, that there's always that worry of not enough time to get everything done. And this episode is going to be focusing on some of my time-saving hacks around meal prep. There are going to be future episodes about different time-saving hacks that I use that have been helpful for me. But this one, I'm going to delve deeper into my meal prep as a time-saving hack. So if you're the type to take notes, I encourage you to do so. I'm just going to lower my mic. I feel like that's better. I felt like it was a little bit high up, and I'm looking up and I'm not that tall, so hopefully this will be a better position so it's not coming at me, coming downwards towards me, and it's at my mouth level. Meal prep is something that I haven't always done. So I'll take you back to maybe pre-meal prep Jasmine and now post or current meal prep Jasmine, just so you can see how meal prep has transformed my evenings, my after work evenings, but also my time. So we're going to go a bit deep here, everyone. We're going deep. So pre-meal prep Jasmine, let me introduce you to her. At the time, I was working full-time, and there were very long days. So I had a particular role that enabled me to accumulate a monthly RDO, additional day off. All organizations call it something different. I believe this organization called it TIL, time in lieu. In this particular role I had the capacity to accumulate time in lieu. So it meant that I had to work extra hours every day to then accumulate a day off, a fortnight or a month. So every day I had to work extra hours. So because I could never finish later, because at the time I just had one child, so my daughter had extracurricular activities, and then getting home any later, especially when dinner needed to be prepared, was simply not an option. So then I elected to start half an hour earlier every day. It was a very long day for me, and it was a long childcare day for my daughter. And because I'd finished earlier than my husband at that time, and his work was located further away, then I was responsible for both drop off in the morning at childcare and pick up in the evenings. And because I got home earlier, then all the dinner prep also seemed to rest solely on my shoulders. And I don't know why at the time I didn't think about prepping anything the night before or getting my husband to prep the night before. It just seemed that the only way that we knew how to prep dinner was just prepping it from scratch that evening for the day. And we didn't tend to cook extra quantities to then last for several days. We tended to cook enough to last, maybe for work lunches the next day, but then that was about it. So I'd get home when it was already dark with a cranky, overtired 3-year-old daughter who just wanted to be fed as soon as we got home. And so I'd be prepping vegetables and, cutting up the meat. I'd have one pot of meat and veg going, one pot of rice or pasta or something else happening. I may have the oven on as well with something else in there. And it was just chaos. I remember just feeling like I'm arriving home already feeling behind, stressed, frazzled, and by the time my husband got home, there was that added kind of complexity of me feeling resentful that I've been doing it on my own up until this point. So he probably also arrived home to a really cranky wife. If he's listening to this, I'm sorry for how I was back then. But I guess it's like the saying goes, when you know better, you can do better, or you can implement something different once you know that it exists and how it can, how it can bring about some positive change in your life. So I guess we don't know what we don't know, and I didn't know any other way. I always would see my mum, cooking fresh every night, and she seemed very frazzled, but I thought that that's how mums should be. Mums are supposed to be frazzled. They're supposed to be racing around the kitchen and looking flustered. And now I know that there's another way, so that's no longer me. And so I was going along doing that ad hoc, unplanned, unstructured meal preparation every night, and I wasn't necessarily planning ahead what I was going to cook on those evenings. And then a few years ago, I had some health issues and my diet needed a lot of change. It needed more structure, and there were certain things that I was not able to eat. So I've had to be really mindful of what food I was cooking. So there was a time where I was really quite limited with what foods I could eat that weren't aggravating my health condition. Things are a lot better now, thankfully. But at that time, when I had those health issues and I needed to really do an overhaul of my nutrition, that's when I had linked in with a dietitian. If you're curious to know who my recommended dietitian is and who I work with, I will link to their details in the show notes as well. But it's Bite Me Nutrition. They're my dietitian. So I will, as I said, I'll link all that in the show notes so you're able to check out their Instagram and then see how you're able to work with them to get the support that is helpful for you and your family on your nutrition journey. But as this is not a sponsored post, I'll leave it at that impromptu shout out. And so I had enlisted the support of a dietitian, and I had this amazing, I still have it, I still use it. I have this amazing menu plan, and it lays out all of my meals. So my breakfast, my lunches, my snacks, my dinners, and the occasional dessert. I'm not going to lie, I'm a sweet tooth. With these meals as well, I was able to look at the recipes and cross-reference that with what I know that my daughters also eat. There's some amazing recipes in there that are family meals that I've been able to create and feed the whole family. So these recipes accommodate my dietary requirements, but then they also help meet the dietary requirements of our whole household. And if I'm to break down now post meal plan Jasmine or current meal plan Jasmine, that there's a process I go through now in which saves me so much time every day and every week when it comes to preparing meals for the family. So I'll take you through my process. The first step in my process is I look through my recipes from my menu plan, and you may not have a dietitian created menu plan. You might just have your go-to recipes. That's totally fine. But I'm going to take you through my process, which includes my menu plan. So I'll go through that and I'll work out a few dishes. What we actually do in our household is we always double the quantity depending on how many in your household. We're just a household of 4, but one of my main time-saving hacks is I don't cook every night. What I'll do is I will have a plan of 3 to 4 meals that I'll cook every week, and that's all the cooking I'll do. I don't cook every evening. That's how I'm also able to carve my meal prep time in half because I'm not cooking every night. So I will work out, okay, what are 3 or 4 dishes I'm going to make? And I also try to be strategic and look at which ingredients can be used across both. That's just easier for me. It's less thinking my brain has to do. So for example, if I am making a bolognese and I'm using lean beef mince, then I might think about buying some extra lean beef mince and then also making some burgers with that. Then that way I'm not needing to buy extra ingredients. I'm just buying more quantity of the same, and it does save time because you're not having to buy 3 to 4 types of meat. You're just saying, yep, 2 kilos or whatever the quantity is of lean beef mince, and then sort of off you go. So I'll have my 3 to 4 meals, then I'll write my shopping list, and I separate my shopping list into categories. And we do our grocery shopping like most busy families on a weekend to also save time and to keep our grocery bill not as high as it could be if the whole family come. I feel like when the whole family come grocery shopping, everyone adds extra things into the trolley that are not on the list. So I've found that the best way to do it is one parent goes on their own or one parent takes one child. So my husband will either go on his own or I would take our older daughter, who is an amazing helper, and she actually keeps me in check. She's like, Mum, it's not on the list, put it back, or we don't really need that. She's like, oh, so what if it's on special? We already have one at home. So my older daughter is such a planner. I feel like she's already a meal prepper. We come back with our groceries and I will organize what I'm doing on which day. But I'm quite flexible about that. So I'm not necessarily set on, oh, it has to be bolognese on Monday, but I might have a loose idea of which day of the week or around which day of the week, say early, mid, or end of the week, when I'll prepare each meal. So once I get all the ingredients, I'll look at what I can prep now on the weekend that's going to also save me time on the weekend. So I'd mentioned the example of bolognese, and bolognese is such an amazing go-to, and it's so easy when you kind of throw everything into the pot and it sort of cooks away. But one of the things I'll do is on the Sunday, I'll chop up the veggies that are going into that ahead of time. And there's a few key meals that I also like to prep to have in the freezer. Just so the bolognese is on my menu plan for that week, then I'll dice up the veggies and have like all the, tins of tomatoes and everything ready to go. And that it's something that can go in the slow cooker, especially if you're working from home or you're working at the office. You can put something like that in the slow cooker on low. And then when you get home, all you need to do is boil some water for your pasta. Also, what I do if we don't have a lot of time, that we'll just cook spaghetti. We won't cook anything like penne or anything that's going to take longer. Spaghetti is the quickest to cook. It's the thinnest. So that's often our go-to. So think about what you're cooking and trying to make it as quick as possible cooking time. Think about spaghetti, angel hair noodles, vermicelli, all those kind of things to include in your menu plan that don't take as much time to cook. You can also use fresh pasta, which also takes less time to cook. When I have maybe 1 or 2 hours on a weekend, what I can also prep to save time, and I call it my freezer meal prep. So I'll do the prep that I can with the fresh ingredients that will remain out of the fridge, and I can use them as I need to throughout the week. But I also like to have a supply of what I call my freezer meal prep. So with the extra lean beef mince that I didn't need for my bolognese, I'll make up a batch of burgers or meatballs, but burgers are easier because they're bigger, so you don't have to be fiddling around with little meatballs. But I'll make some burgers, then I'll label them and freeze them. So that's another meal done, ticked off. Some other favorites of ours in our freezer meal prep is crumbed chicken. That takes longer, so I haven't done that for a few weeks. I've simply been too busy, but that's just one of our favorites. Another one is satay chicken or satay chicken skewers. Then to save time, we'll actually bake that in the oven or under the grill, and no stove is needed, no oil is needed. I'll always have a batch of my homemade sausage rolls in the freezer as well, and my daughters will take them for school lunches. And they're also good for weekend lunches or when my girls have their friends over, just a bit of a snack which can go on a plate with fresh veggies, dip, fruits, etc. When you spend a little bit of time on the weekend doing your freezer meal prep, then it does save you time during the week. So I thought I'd share those kind of secrets with you all. Having an increased structure in our family meals, introducing meal preparation, including freezer meal preparation. I found that I'm less frazzled in the evenings. I spend that little bit of extra time on the weekends, but the amount of time, stress, and just energy that it saves me during the week, it's just phenomenal. And I don't know why I didn't implement meal prep and also freezer meal prep earlier. But I'm sharing these insights with you all. I would love to know if you meal prep, what are some of your go-to meals? Do you do freezer meal prep as well? What's in your freezer? Let me know. Give me more ideas. So in this episode, we've discussed a few of my now no longer well-kept secrets on how I save time by doing meal prep and also freezer meal prep, including some tips of how you can save some time and also a bit of money in the supermarket by going with less people at the grocery shop. And I've also spoken about the improvements in my own stress levels as a result of being a bit more organized ahead of time. And if you spend a few hours on a weekend doing the freezer meal prep, then your weekday self will be thanking you all week long. Trust me. I would absolutely love it if you would share this episode with another mum out there who is struggling with time during the week and in preparing meals for her family without the overwhelm. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.